All right, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast, Vintage and Stuff, with your host, me, Drew Heifetz. Today I have Jordy Armstrong on the show, and he hails to us from the great country of Australia, down under. And I'm trying to get more international vintage dealers on the show to kind of spread the word about what's going on in other parts of the world. Obviously, we have tons of American guests, Canadian guests, but I'm looking for more European guests. And today I brought on an Aussie, Jordy Armstrong. He runs a vintage market called the Sunshine Coast Vintage Market. He also has a market in the Gold Coast now called the Gold Coast Vintage Market. And he has a store called the Sunshine Coast Vintage Market. I think I got that all right. Anyway, bottom line is, I haven't been to his store. I haven't been to Australia in many years, although I have been to Australia. But he runs vintage markets and he has a store. And we get into that a lot. We really go deep into what it takes to run a vintage market, how you run a vintage market, how you market a vintage market, how you get vendors for a market. It's actually very educational if you ever want to run a market yourself. Also, we talk about his store, which is a very unique model. The Sunshine Coast Vintage Market is the name of the store. Excuse me. And he has 2/3 vendors and 1/3 his own product. So he's been able to create a business model where the vendors pay for his rent and a lot of his staffing, and he gets to have 1/3 of the store with his own product. So if you want to know how that model works, how he created that model, what the model is, you got to tune into the episode. All right. Thank you guys. Stoked to be back producing weekly episodes for you guys. Make sure you go check out our other podcast series where myself, Amy, and my brother Jesse get into the nitty gritty, the down and out, the deep down and dirty of running the business F as in Frank Vintage. It's not a walk in the park. It rarely is ever a walk in the park. We have a lot of struggles just like every other business. But we're learning, we're growing, and we're scaling a vintage business. So go check out that podcast. It's on the YouTube channel. It's also on the podcast thread. That there will be weekly episodes there. Without further ado, let's just jump right into this one. I know you're going to love it. Thanks again for being here.
Welcome to Vintage and Stuff with Drew Heifetz. Welcome to Vintage and welcome to Vintage and Stuff with Drew Heifetz. Welcome to Vintage and welcome to Vintage and Stuff. Drew Heifetz. Welcome to Vintage and welcome to Vintage and Stuff. Vintage and Stuff. We got vintage clothing by the rack. Yeah, just check out my Insta. How you gon' argue with that? Everything you see, I manifest. I'm an architect. I think I'ma run it back. We got vintage clothing by the rack. Just check out my Insta. How you gon' argue with that? Everything you see, I manifest. I'm an architect. I think I'll have some of that.
All right, Jordy, welcome to the show, my man.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Jordy Armstrong. It's a very strong name, Armstrong.
You reckon?
Yeah, dude. I feel like it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's an American name, but obviously it's not because you're coming from Australia, bud.
Yeah. Now, a lot of my friends will say that I'm an American at heart. Like I'm a big NBA fan and stuff. So
Dope.
yeah, but I'm definitely not American. There's no one American in my family. But yeah.
Sweet. How you feeling today?
Good. Feeling good. Haven't been to the store today. Just chilling at home, doing some admin in preparation for this. So yeah.
You Aussies, my partner's an Aussie, and they call it admin too.
Oh, really?
She loves to call it. Oh, she just says like uses the term admin for like I gotta do paperwork or I gotta go do administration shit. But I mean, I don't think like Canadians or Americans would use that term.
What would you guys call it?
Paperwork.
Just work?
I feel like, paperwork.
Even if you're on the laptop.
Maybe it's just me. I'm old. I don't know. I found it funny when she kept saying like admin. I'm like, what the fuck is this admin you keep talking about? But yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you hailing to us from Australia, from the Gold Coast, or Sunshine Coast, rather, right?
Sunshine Coast, yeah.
You live in the Sunshine Coast, okay.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that, but I think a fun place to start would be like, let's drop some Australian vintage game on the people right off the bat.
Okay, sure.
We all know, and obviously we could talk about this too, but the vintage game is like run by like U.S. clothing, basically. That's like the top of the pyramid, right?
100%.
Yeah, and it's no different for Australia. Everybody wants like what they see on TV, basically, and it's all fucking American. So, drop some fucking Australian brands on us, or like things that like are cool Australian vintage.
Yeah, I mean, RM Williams. If anyone knows RM Williams, it's like a lot of like country people will wear it, but they make really good quality denim and boots and stuff like that.
RM Williams.
Yeah, RM Williams.
Do they make like riding pants? Like jeans for horse riding, right? Somebody recently put me onto them. They have like the ass has no pockets. It's like I guess that's because you're on a horse.
I believe so. I'm not. I haven't worn them for the intended purpose, but
okay, cool. So that's one. RM Williams. What else you got?
Obviously, like everyone knows Mambo. Mambo sells like really well over here, and then like just the surf brands. But yeah, in terms of like, we don't have like the history of having like a Carhartt or something like that made in Australia. Everything that we sell is really centered around like Americana. So yeah,
and like obviously Mambo is this, like I would call them like a Hawaiian shirt brand, or like a urban-y t-shirt Hawaiian shirt kind of part. I guess you guys call them party shirts too, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people will wear them to like music festivals and stuff like that, just because they're like a loud shirt. That, I mean, they're called Mambo loud shirts for a reason. Some of the graphics are pretty out there, and a lot of the tee graphics as well are like I don't know if I would wear some of them. Like, they're pretty questionable, but yeah.
Yeah, I actually got one recently. They're super cool. But I will have to shout out a couple more brands that I put on my list. One was Coogi is Australian.
Oh, of course, Coogi.
Do you find that stuff more there or no?
I don't go op shopping or like thrift shopping as much as I like used to.
Yeah.
I maybe found like a couple of Coogi pieces over like the few years that I was going hard at that, but it's really not like around as much as you'd think, even though it was all made here.
No, and I think because they were expensive anyway to buy them new, they're probably $500 sweaters. So like, who's throwing those out, right?
I think most of them were getting like sold at the airports, and like tourists were buying them before they, hopped back on that flight to head home and stuff like that. Especially like the really loud like knits.
Interesting.
Yeah,
knits are those loud knits, aka 3D knits. People are calling them. Are having a fucking moment right now, man. It's like they sell so fast.
Yeah, and then like there's all those brands that have just done their own iteration of it. I know there's a brand called like Coogi, like Cuggi. It's just completely based off of Coogi, and they've completely ripped off all the designs.
Shit, yeah. That's the way the business
goes.
They
sell well at our store as well. Yeah,
nice.
Even if it's not Coogi branded.
Yeah, for sure. And then Drizzabone. Do people like the old shit?
I think it's pronounced Dryzabone.
Dryzabone. Okay. I don't know.
That's how we pronounce it, but maybe we're doing it wrong. Yes, that stuff does sell well as well. What did I have? I had a jacket at one point. I think I put it on eBay on auction, like right when I first started selling. And I couldn't believe, I think it went for like $300 or something. And it was just a jacket.
Nice.
But yeah, I was surprised, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's, your friends said that you're you're fearless. They had some good things to say. They say you go after what you want and you get it. You're not afraid to ask for what you want or ask for help, even though the answer is definitely going to be no. You're not afraid to ask.
Yeah.
I like that quality. I think that's a strong quality. I think too many people are like afraid to ask.
Yeah. I mean, you never get anywhere without trying to, make stuff happen.
Yeah. So talk about that. Like where does all this confidence come from with you?
I don't know. My parents are both like they own a restaurant business here in Australia. And obviously like they didn't inherit any money or anything. So they learned how to grow a business from, from the ground up. So I guess like I get a lot of that from them. Um, I know they've been told no thousands and thousands of times. So, but that they still ask, they still go after what they want. So I guess a lot of it like stems from them and like how they've like brought me up like in a very business minded environment. But yeah, like in terms of they don't like if you don't ask, you won't receive. Like you just gotta you're gonna get the door shut on you more times than it's gonna get open to you. So yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes you just gotta go after it.
100%. I agree with it, man. I think too, people are afraid to ask because they're worried about what people will think of them. Potentially, probably other reasons, fear, whatever. But the growth mindset dictates you got to go. You got to get the door shut on you, and you got to fucking keep going after it. And
Yeah,
also,
I
I
mean, if it
also have this theory of like, it's if you're going to ask for something, be willing to give as much as you're going to ask for from other people.
100%.
And in that regard, it's like there should be no reason. Like if I need someone to help me move some shit, I'll happily return the favor. So why not ask?
Yeah, like I'm with you on that 100%.
So that's cool. Your parents brought you up in a business household. So like, what kind of stuff did they pass on to you in that regard?
So they're in the restaurant business, so it's very different to clothing. Like, there's only so much. Like, I'll ask them questions like about certain things, and they'll be very clear with me if they don't think they can help at all. But yeah, like I started working at they own like pubs. If you know what pubs are, they're like
Yeah, of
bars,
course. Yeah.
but
We
with
we
food and
call them
stuff. With like,
pubs too.
oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought it was named something else, but yeah. So I was like working behind the bar at like 14 when I was, you know, a youngin. So I was pouring beers for them when I was 14. So I've always had to work growing up.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, they've had money, but it's all invested in their business. So if I ever wanted to buy something for myself, I gotta earn it with that hourly wage. You know what I mean? But yeah,
Yeah, I think that's important. I got kids now, and my oldest is wanting to buy a computer, but I'm like, okay,
yeah,
great.
sure,
So what? Go
yeah,
fucking make some money.
yeah. You're not
You
gonna buy it
know?
for me.
Yeah, I'll pitch in, but like you got to go hustle, round up some cash. So he's, and I think that's important. You can see the difference of people that had to like hustle when they were young versus people that had it all handed to them.
Yeah, 100%. I'm like, obviously, when you're a kid growing up, you just kind of want everything handed to you. You want a computer or a new phone or whatever. But like looking back on it now, I'm like pretty grateful on, you know, getting taught that if I wanted something, I had to go and earn it.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk Australian vintage scene here. So, I want to know how you ended up doing what you're doing. You have a market called the Sunshine Coast Market, Gold Coast Vintage Market, right?
Right.
And then you have a retail location now, which is called the Sunshine Coast Vintage. That's it, Sunshine Coast
Market.
Vintage.
Yeah, Sunshine Coast Vintage Market as well.
Okay.
So how that all stemmed was Sunshine Coast Vintage Market, the store originally was a market. And yeah, I was doing a lot of like clothing events in Brisbane, which is about an hour south of where I live. And I was like, damn, these events are only on once a month. And, I hadn't really before attending those events, I hadn't really been surrounded by other people who do like what I do. So I was like, oh, it sucks that I can only go to these events once a month. Why can't I start something like this on the Sunshine Coast?
Yeah.
So I did. I opened a market on the Sunshine Coast, hit up a bunch of vendors, and then a few years later did the same thing on Gold Coast. And earlier this year in March, the retail space, which I thought was in a good location, became available at what I thought was like a good price. So signed the lease on that, and yeah, my store runs like a little differently than the classic vintage store, where rather than me owning all the stock within the store, we actually rent out portions of rack space to other sellers. So it's
Yeah.
almost like it's a market, but at a permanent retail store.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm excited to like dive into that more. I want to know all the details because like there's a
Yep.
couple of those here. There's a couple of those here, and I feel like it's become more popular now. And then there's some stores that are like half and half, and
Yeah.
we've talked about different ideas. So yeah, I want to dive into that. But let's keep on the market talk for a bit here.
Sure.
Again, like markets right now, they're fucking everywhere. Vancouver, like
Yeah.
I feel like there's probably like 3 a weekend every weekend, and a lot of people have started running markets. Obviously, it's like a great way for people who are resellers to make a living. If you have low expenses, you can go out one day a week and like make enough that's your like income, right?
100%.
I do find that like with so many markets, it's like it's lost its like pull here anyway, because I'm like, fuck, I used to want to go to every market, but now I'm like, I can't even do that if I wanted to.
I'm with you on that. There's definitely I believe there's too many markets going on in Australia right now. Like when we started the Sunshine Coast one, we were the only clothing market on the Sunshine Coast, and now there's probably 3 or 4 different like organizations or brands that do ones. In like the major cities like Brisbane, same thing. There's,
Yeah.
3, 4, 5 that tour around Australia and do it. So it's definitely lost its. They're just not as busy as they used to, and I think that's just because it used to be okay. Well, if as a consumer, if I don't go to this market, I don't get to go to another one for a month.
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh, there's one on every weekend. So
Totally.
yeah,
And I mean,
this just goes
to show like the market in general. It's not just these markets. It's vintage stores too. They're popping up all over the place. It's vintage in general. It's all the different all the resellers like online has got saturated because this whole world of vintage is blowing up, which, it's a good thing because it's how we make our living. Without the customers, we wouldn't, and then obviously as any business grows, more people get involved. So it's just a sign of the times, to be honest. But I don't want to be a downer on the vintage market. I think it's great. I've done markets. I think it's super cool. So I want to know, like, how did you get started? I kind of want to know like the nitty gritty of running a market. So like, let's talk. What does it take to start a market? Just lay it out.
Okay, cool. Sorry. Obviously, like location's a big thing. I guess the good thing with like a market versus like a retail store is like foot traffic isn't always like the biggest problem. Like, and when I say foot traffic, I mean like natural foot traffic, because a lot of the attendees that are going to come are going to hear from you via like ads or promo or something along those lines. So I guess location, people are prepared to drive. People are, as long as there's like good parking or good public transport, people are prepared to travel for it. So I think like location isn't the biggest obstacle in that sense. I don't know if you've got the same viewpoint on that with the events that you've run.
Yeah, I think like you want to be somewhere where they will make the effort to come.
Sure.
But you don't have to be like in the core. And you can't really be in the core usually because there's no spaces that are going to be big enough to do what you got to do.
Yeah, it needs to be easily accessible, whether that's through parking or close to an area where a lot of people are going anyway.
Yeah, and then I guess like too, you got to weigh up like location cost, right? That's always the big argument. Like better location, higher cost. If they got to drive farther, it's cheaper.
Well, for me, I've always said, look, I'd rather spend less money on the location and be able to use that money like towards our marketing budget, because we can push out more ads and push out more content to bring people to the location by saving that money on the front end.
Okay, cool. So like what like average price, so like how big are the venues that you're running these markets at?
For square footage wise, I'm not sure.
How many
How big
vendors?
would they be? So the Gold Coast one that we do, we have between 40 and 50 vendors, depending on like the stall spaces that get purchased. And the stall spaces are anywhere from I don't know the length in foot, but 3 meters by 3 meters is like our
Yeah,
standard
that's like
space.
10 by 10. That's
I think
pretty
it's 10 by
standard.
10,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, so we'll have between 40 and 50 vendors at our Gold Coast event, yeah.
And what do you charge for rent?
So we just put our prices up actually because the venue has started to charge us more. They like raise their prices every year. So we charge 185 Australian for a 3x3. So I have no idea what that works out to, but
Probably like, I don't know, 140
120 or so maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. USD.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. And talk marketing. So obviously, like you said, you got to pump money into ads here. What is your
Yeah.
marketing budget on a market that you do?
So on our Gold Coast market, we charge entry. So it's $5 at the door, or people can pre-purchase tickets online. So because we can generate revenue through ticket sales, our marketing budget's much higher. So we spend anywhere from $6K to $8.5K per event.
Yeah. Okay, dope. That's great. That's a great metric. That's a lot of ad spend. So you're like probably, let me do the quick figures in my head here. Probably going to show that ad to like, for that much money, I would say like 1 million people or more.
It's a little bit it's a little bit less because of the population in Australia isn't as big as like in America. You haven't got as many people sitting in all our like living in all our population areas that we're targeting.
Yeah.
So we usually target maybe like a 40-kilometer radius, so like maybe like 25 miles or something like that.
Okay.
Around like our location. So rather than hitting people with just the same ad and them getting sick of it, we'll do like a lot of different content. So we'll have like obviously like our main event poster, and then we'll have, maybe 3, 4, 5 different video reels that we'll like push out to them. And then we'll do like specific video based content that will, might be better for males or might be better for females or might be better for people coming for vinyl. We do a lot of like vinyl records at our events. So, the target demographic for people who is buying vinyl is completely different to the people who are buying Y2K denim mini skirts. It's like,
Totally.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Smart. Are you hiring a ad buyer, or do you run the ads yourself?
I do it all myself. Yeah.
So was that hard to like figure out for you, or was it pretty basic?
It was expensive. Yeah, I definitely made a lot of wrong decisions just like early on trying to work out, the meta ads portal is forever changing, and I feel like anybody who says they're an expert when it comes to, navigating the ads manager, like they're lying. They change the algorithm. It almost feels like daily. They change that platform daily. Like there's no way anybody knows how to navigate that thing 100%. So I guess it's just like picking and choosing what you know on there.
They change it so that
getting
like everybody loses money a little bit. They're like
100%.
They want you just to keep losing money. Spending.
Zuckerberg's smart. He's a smart guy, Zuckerberg. Like he's raking it in. Like I just worked out the other day like how much I've given them just on like our ad spend over the past 3 years, and it's like it's crazy. So like thinking about all these other like online retailers who are spending, millions of dollars a year on Facebook and Instagram ads, they must be raking it in money wise.
Yeah, it's nuts. Yeah. So when you're running an ad in the meta, in the ads manager, like what are you looking for on an ad? Like, well, you'll monitor them and you'll be like, this one's getting like good interaction. I'm going to like put more money into this one. I'm going to boost it more, or like, how
Yeah.
do you,
Well,
yeah.
like you can grab the pixel from your like you can grab the pixel from your confirmation screen, like on whatever your ticketing platform you're using is. Like we use Humanitix, and you can like grab the pixel, so every time the confirmation screen gets triggered, like someone's bought tickets, it will feed that information back to the ad, so you can actually see exactly how much you're spending on ads and exactly how much revenue you've generated from that specific ad as well. So it's
Yeah.
really just a
So it's a numbers game. So you start like 1 week, you're like, I'm testing all these ads. Let's see how many tickets we sell.
yeah
And then the next week you're like, okay, these ones produced way more. I'm going to fucking boost the shit out of these. These ones are
yeah
done. And
yeah,
then,
and then it's just a balancing act. You can pull money out of some of them and then push more money into the other one. But yeah, we've got like a full like marketing budget of how much money we want to spend in, you know, a 1 month period, and you know, we just have to kind of tailor it around that.
and then how much percent, because you'll obviously sell tickets at the door too.
Yeah,
And what's the percentage of like pre-bought tickets to door tickets?
it's about 70%.
70 pre-bought.
Yeah, 70% pre-bought. Yeah, because we have
That's pretty
like
good.
capacity rules. Yeah. We have like capacity rules. So once like we can only have, I believe it's 560 people in the venue at one point. And obviously even that's a bit restricted because, you know, racks take up a lot of space, tables take up a lot of space.
Yeah.
So, yeah, once our 10 a.m. tickets like sell out our first like time slot, people who want to buy at the door can't buy at the door. They're going to wait for our next time slot or have like a 1 in, 1 out thing where as people leave, we can let them in because, you know, we can't get in trouble with the venue.
Yeah. So essentially, like, you're pretty much selling the venue out, the whole market. Or
Yeah.
close to.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick. What is okay, well, let's talk about vintage here. We talked a lot about the business of the market, which I think is like very valuable shit. I think people really want to know that stuff. I think it's important, you know, because everybody wants to run a market, and there's a lot more that goes into it. Like, I think that
there's a lot more that goes into it.
What would you say? Okay, so tell us what else goes into it then.
All right, a quick intermission from the show to let you know that you are listening to the free, absolutely free 45-minute version of the show. But if you want to hear the full 2-hour episode where we drop all the juicy info, all the content that's going to help you build your business and inevitably make more money guaranteed. How about that? It's a make more money guaranteed. What you want to do is you want to jump on our Patreon. There's a link down below in the show notes. You get a free 1-week trial on the Patreon, and then it's only $5 a month. We also drop extra special little tidbits in the Patreon for you guys to enjoy. So jump on the Patreon, link in the show notes down below, or you can become a member right here on YouTube. Become a member right here on YouTube. But I recommend you hop on the Patreon. Back to the episode.
I mean, like finding the right vendors is a big thing as well. We get a lot of like applications for, you know, because like consumers are spending money to come to our Gold Coast event specifically.
Yeah.
Like it's very important that we have like vendors that are going to encapsulate like what we're, you know, promoting that we're doing. So like we sell vintage clothing, streetwear, and vinyl. Like those are our 3 pillars. Yeah, we'll have like some local jewelry brands and things along those lines, but we don't just want people coming like to be a vendor who are, you know, just selling their wardrobe and maybe they've got a bunch of stuff from Shein or whatever. And
Yeah,
you know, that can really impact like how people see your market, and maybe they're not going to want to come, a consumer might not want to come back to it after because, you know, they're expecting to see exactly what you're promoting. So you got to be careful with like what sort of vendors you bring to it. You want to uphold the image you're putting out there.
so it's like this jurying process of the vendors to make sure that you're not getting all the bullshit. And how do you
Yeah.
do that? Like they send their application, then you're like check their Instagram and like check their
Yeah, well, yeah, it's really, yeah, we really just do it through like Instagram DMs mainly. Stupidly enough, I have my phone number like linked to our like market pages, so I just get phone calls all day as soon as we put like the posts up about people wanting to be vendors. So I've tried to like get my phone number taken down from Google, but I think it takes a bit of time for it to clear off. But yeah, it's mainly just like messaging them and pretty much just like being frank with them, like what do you have to sell? Like, are you just selling stuff from your wardrobe, or do you have a business? And I mean,
yeah.
nine times out of 10, they're going to message you from their clothing page anyway. So if they are like a vintage vendor, so yeah.
So okay, let's talk the clothing. So at these events, like, or just in Australia in general, like what's hot right now?
Uh, Obviously, like t-shirts. USA like pro sports sells really well over here. NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB not so much, but yeah, definitely like NBA is number one. Um, I think everywhere over the world, jorts are going crazy, but
Yeah.
jorts are very popular over here, especially with how hot it is. Like
And you guys
I know
get
in
like
Queensland,
12 months of the year to sell jorts, right?
yeah, like we opened the store in May, which is pretty much right at the start of our winter period, and like jorts didn't stop selling. So yeah, jorts sell really well because it's so hot and we're like right next to the beach. Button ups do really well. We do like a different sort of button up where we actually get them like cropped, so they sit like right above the belt line, because a lot of people don't like when they have like the ducktail and they cover up half their butts. So we actually get them cropped and like re-hemmed.
And you're probably selling short sleeves, or you're selling long sleeves too.
Short sleeves, yeah,
Do
yeah.
you do,
So
do you have to cut the sleeves to find it to get as many short sleeves as you want, or are you just doing that?
nah, I source them overseas. So what I'll do is I'll source like big ones, so double XL, triple XLs, like 4XLs, because people like a really baggy sleeve in Australia. And then obviously we crop the bottom, so it doesn't really matter what size they are, because we're
So
going to crop it anyway.
you're so someone's gonna wear a 4XL, but it's so the width is still there.
People like boxy over here.
Holy
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. People really like boxy.
Okay, you got to send me pictures. I need to see some pictures of somebody rocking
I
like a
will.
3XL button up.
Okay, I will.
But that's a
I'll send
vibe,
you.
and I love that too, because that's like so easy to source. You could be like, send
Yeah,
me
so
1,000
easy.
pounds of these fucking
I
shirts
know.
in a
I
heartbeat.
know. That's why I love it. And people like, there's so much of it available that you can really even like request like very specific brands. Like you can ask for, like
Ralph
Ralph
Lauren or
Lauren, yeah,
Tommy.
chaps like
Yeah,
Tommy, even with like the Crest logos and stuff. So yeah,
smart man, smart
it's
man.
been a good thing that we've done. Yeah.
So if there's probably one tip on here that's going to be the most valuable of any tip ever on the podcast, it is learn to sell what nobody wants.
Yeah.
If you could
Yeah.
figure out how to sell what nobody wants, the money is limitless.
Yeah.
So
Especially like, I mean, with that, like it took a while to set up like overseas. So like it took a while to find like a seamstress who would do it, and then it's happy to ship it as well, because usually they only like to deal with like local people. So yeah, there's definitely like a barrier of entry, but it's definitely doable. You just gotta
yeah, but even on
you
a
just gotta
small
work it out.
scale, people could do like some alterations. I mean, obviously I've had my company, Frankie, so I know what that's like doing it locally. But I guess this is a good segue, because you say overseas, but you're talking Asia,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Obviously, like a ton of I know a lot of Aussies. I know a lot of Aussies in the business, and you guys come to America. I don't know if you do. Do you?
I've been to America once.
Yeah.
I did a lot of sourcing while I was there.
So yeah, a lot of the Aussies will do like quarterly trips to the States to source, or they
Yeah.
have like wholesalers that they have really good relationships with that like will ship continuously, or they're doing
Yeah.
trips to Asia, because Asia obviously has like American rag flowing in like crazy, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so what's that like going over to Asia to go sourcing?
Great. I've been 7, 8 times now. I just got back last week. That's why we had to push this back. But yeah, it's
So
good. I
what are we
love it.
talking? Thailand?
Thailand. I've been to Vietnam, Indonesia. But yeah, they're the big three. I'm sure there's much better places that I don't even know about. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with like the little loop that I do.
Nice. So when you go, you'll do all three in a loop?
No, I'll just do like pick one. But
Okay.
yeah, those are the 3 spots like that I've hit.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love
So
it.
do you surf?
I used to surf a lot. I don't surf as much as I used to. I live right on the beach though. Like if you could see what was opposite me, it's just waves.
I'm so fucking jealous, man.
Yeah,
You're literally on a surf beach right now?
yeah. I'll see if I can
Oh my
flick it.
God. Jesus.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I'm not that close to waves. So yeah, so we kind of mentioned this off camera. I've been to where you live. I spent like a
yes,
month in the Sunshine Coast in Noosa,
yeah.
living in a van down, literally a van down by the river. I stayed at that campground on like the Noosa River or whatever that river's called.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, super rad.
Maybe 10-minute drive from me. Like I could be there in
Sick.
10 minutes.
Yeah, it's a great area. I love that area. I was there with my girlfriend at the time, and I learned to surf out on like Noosa Main Beach there.
Yeah,
That was the first real like surf trip I ever went on, and I spent like a month there just figuring it out, getting smashed in the waves. I got one day I was out at like is it called Sunshine Beach? That's like south.
yeah, sunshine. Yeah, sunshine.
Um, I was out there with some homies that I knew, and they were like, "We're going out. We're getting barreled today. Like this swell's good. Let's get it." And I'm like 2, 3 weeks into surfing, don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Got like pounded by a wave, and I come up, finally like catch my breath because I'm like held down by this wave. The board gets like tossed onto my head, and I had to go get like a bunch of stitches.
The fin hit you or what?
It was like the side of the board, but like I got thrown, then the board got like re-picked up by the next wave and like just smashed me on the head.
True. Fiberglass or probably fiberglass board,
Yeah,
right?
it was
Not foam.
fiberglass.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. They're hard, those things.
Yeah, and I was like gushing, and had to get stitches, but yeah, I have great memories from that area, and I don't.
Yeah,
This was like 2001. I was there.
yeah. That was the year I was born.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, so you live in a beautiful place, and
Yeah,
I think everybody who's listening's probably heard of the Gold Coast, which is
yeah,
like very famous vacation destination for everybody around the world.
yeah,
But definitely, like the Sunshine Coast is lesser known. It's more of like an Australian vacation
yeah.
destination.
There's a lot of people like moving here now from, especially like, I mean, a lot of people would know like Melbourne and Sydney. Like a lot of people are moving to the Sunshine Coast now because it's a bit more low key. So like a lot of like, rich people from Melbourne and Sydney move here to kind of retire. So like the housing prices are going way, way up.
Yeah, it's the state of the world, man. Everyone's trying to get out of the
Yeah.
cities and fucking driving
Yep.
everything up. But it brings you customers to buy the vintage. So
100%. They're the people that spend money at the store. So I welcome them in.
let's talk about the shop, man. You said
Sure.
what size of town is this that your shop's in?
So we're in Mooloolaba, it's on like if you're thinking Noosa we call like the north end of the Sunshine Coast. This is pretty much like right in the middle, like right by the beach as well, on like the same coastline. But yeah, our store is probably about 30, 40 steps from the sand. So
Wow.
you can take 30 steps from our front door and you're on the beach.
So like, is your customer base mainly going to be locals or tourists?
So tourist season is like about to hit us right now. School's like pretty much just ended in Australia now. So a lot of people holiday in Mooloolaba. Um, we definitely see like a big like rise in sales when it's like school holidays. But we haven't actually done like a Christmas period yet because we've only been open 6 months. So
Yeah,
I think
which I
it'll
guess
definitely
that's
stem.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it'll definitely be a big. I think there's going to be a lot of tourists, so I think it's going to be a big Christmas period without jinxing anything.
I'm sure you'll be killing it. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So obviously, you guys are the opposite of us here. We it's the same in the sense that you break in summer, but Christmas
yeah,
lies in the middle of your fucking summer, or like in the beginning of the
yeah,
summer,
yeah.
um,
Beginning.
beginning of summer. Which I
Yeah,
did spend Christmas in Australia, and we went camping and literally cooked shrimps on the barbie. So,
yeah.
um,
I can't imagine having like a cold Christmas. Like our Christmases in Australia are all spent outdoors in the pool, and yeah, cooking stuff on the barbecue. Like that's what we do. Drink beer.
yeah,
Like that's what our Christmas is. So it's so funny. Like when we like watch movies and stuff and you see American Christmas and it's people playing in the snow and stuff, it's just so far from what we've ever experienced.
yeah, that's wild. Have you ever been to the snow?
I went to Japan at I went to Japan for last year for Christmas. So I had a cold Christmas and I went to Hakuba
Nice.
and had Christmas there, which was sick. But yeah, I learned how to taught myself how to snowboard. Um,
Sick. In like
it,
the best
it was
place in
fun.
the world to do it.
Yeah, it was awesome. I was there with just like two mates over Christmas, and we thought we'd just be able to get like a snowboarding lesson or whatever when we rocked up, and we got there, got our boards, went to like some instructor, and they're like, "Oh no, you got to book this like a month in advance." So
That's
yeah,
crazy.
we just started walking up the mountain and tried to work it out. Fell on our ass a lot, and then we're just like, screw it, let's just catch the lift up and we'll go right to the top of the mountain. We'll work it out on the way down.
And how'd that go? You figured it out?
It went good. Like, yeah, in the end, like I was actually pretty stoked with like how far we got. But then on the second day there was an earthquake
What?
and we were on the mountain. Yeah. I'm like my friend was like, "Oh, I'm gonna try and like hit a jump or whatever." Hits a jump, falls on his face, and then he's saying like there's an earthquake or whatever. We're just laughing at him, kind of playing it off. And I'm sitting back on my hands, and all of a sudden my arms are just going side to side, and I'm not even sure what's happening. And I was like, "Oh, earthquake!" But yeah, we were fine. It lasted like, I don't know, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, but yeah, we just went on as usual.
Yeah, that's I mean, I guess they happen all the time, they say it, but it's like you don't feel them very often because they got to be at like a certain level.
Yeah, the locals did not look phased at all. Like they just look like they experience it all the time. Like they didn't even react.
Yeah, we Vancouver Island, which is like on the coast where I live. Apparently it's on a fault, they say, where like it's going to sink into the ocean one day. It's going to be like tsunamis and all this. They're like, all the doomsday
San
shit they say.
Andreas, eh?
Yeah, basically. And I was over there at my sister's house like recently, and I got woken up in the middle of the night by one. Like the house is like shaking and like it's making a bunch of noise. Like nothing was like falling off shelves, but it was this weird. I was like, what
Yeah.
the fuck is that noise? Doors are kind of like
Mm.
going. And that was like one of the biggest ones I've ever felt. And the first time it like definitely had woke me up at night. But it's a weird feeling for sure.
Yeah, I'd never experienced one other than that. And up until then, yeah.
So back to the store here. Something that I think is very interesting. So your store is a vendor market store currently, or was, or still is?
Still is. Yeah.
Okay.
Has been from when we started as well.
And so like how much percent do you have filled with your clothes, and then how much is vendors?
So we probably have about a third of the store is yeah, like my stuff or like my yeah, our stuff. Um and then we have about 13 other vendors. Um I don't know. Yeah, I don't know anything about women's wear. Like I know absolutely nothing. So it was really important that for me to get like women's wear sellers in there because, um, I mean, I know you preach it, but women's wear is like so much harder to learn than menswear, especially just with like sizing and fits on like skirts and bottoms. So yeah, so we have 13 other vendors that they pay rent weekly, and then we pay them out at the end of every week what they make, and we take a commission slice as well.
So break this down for me. So they rent it by like the rack space?
Yeah, so we have like double high racks, which are 1.5 meters, and we have those spaced out. So yeah, anybody who wants a space in the store, they will rent a double rack, which are 1.5 meters each. Yeah.
Okay. And then you get they pay a flat fee rent based on the week, which is also weird because you guys pay like your house rent by the week too.
Correct.
Which we don't. Here it's monthly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like a weird Aussie differentiator. But yeah, so there you go. So you're renting the racks by the week. And then you pay them out. So they're basically like flat fee for the rent. What's the cut that you get of the product?
We take 10%.
Nice. And are the vendors like making good money out of your store?
Yeah, there's always going to be like some vendors who make heaps, and then like some vendors who maybe like it's not worth it for them, or they don't have the inventory to be able to like cycle out product. It's definitely like we've really worked out the more people come and like restock, or the more people come and swap over stock, the better they do. Just because, Sunshine Coast isn't the biggest population, so some people might come into the store, weekly to check it out. And if they're seeing the same stock on the racks, then they want to see new product.
Yeah, that's good advice for any vintage store. Change your fucking product. Don't let the shit sit. Don't get attached to it. Like, move that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right. So that's sick. So how did you come up with this mall? Like, obviously you had your market experience, then you went into like the brick and mortar.
Yeah,
it's a whole new world. You got rents.
Completely different.
And you pay for all your employees. You pay for the employees, right? So you still have overhead. Correct. How many employees you running in that store daily?
So we will run like one a day usually. We try and just have one person there each day, and then I'll pop in and out from the store to. I've also got like a offsite big storage space where we keep all our stock. So I'm there a lot, and then I'm at the store a lot, back and forth. So we have like a manager as such, who's plastered like all over all our socials. She's at the store 4 days a week, I'd say, plus one day she's there when the store's closed where she just does content. And then I've got like a couple of like younger employees who help out with a lot of the warehouse stuff. And then I've got one employee which helps out with a lot of the market admin stuff.
Cool. Are the companies joined? Like, do you run one company for both projects?
Yeah. It's all under the same banner.
Okay, I'm gonna get into some nitty gritty talk here. Okay.
Sure.
Like, what's your best day in the store so far?
Probably Saturdays. Yeah.
No. Like money. Like, how much money was your best day?
So opening night we did.
That's how it goes. The free 45-minute version of the show is over. If you want to continue listening to us banter on about Jordy's business, about the vintage business, about how he runs markets, the full model of his store, how he sources product in Asia, how he creates relationships, how his business operates. He's a successful young dude. You want to tap in. Guaranteed to make more money by getting on the Patreon and listening to the full episodes where all the real juice, all the nitty gritty, all the down and dirty information and education is located. So what you want to do in the show notes below is the link to the Patreon. You get a free 1-week trial, and then it's only $5 a month, or you can join right here on the YouTube. Thank you guys once again for being here. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with your friends. Be happy, not crappy, and I will see you on the next episode. Over and out.